The throw statement allows you to create a custom error. Technically, you can throw an exception or throw an error. So an exception is the same thing as an error. When you throw an exception, the same thing as throw an error. The exception can be a JavaScript string, a number, a boolean, or an object. Now, the throw statement is commonly used alongside the try and catch block process. And the try block is where the main actions usually happens because it is the part that contains the code that might throw an error. So if you want to test for an exception in your code, so what you want to test for is always inside the try block, which is where that code will be tested to see if it might throw an error. But in situations or instances where no error occurs, this process will make the catch block to be skipped because the catch block depends on the try block. So if there's no error found inside the try block, then the catch block will be skipped because the catch block only executes if an error occurs in the try block. The situation where there is no error, then it will be skipped. Then the error object provides detail about what went wrong. So let's say there's an error being caught inside the try block and it returns an object as the error. Then that object can now provide details about what went wrong in the execution of such code or program. And also finally, we have the finally block, which is optional. You can attach it and you can also remove it. It depends on your use cases. The finally block executes after the try and catch blocks, whether an error occurs or not. So it acts or always works like a default that always run or fires, regardless of whether an error is caught or not. And its purpose is that it is commonly used for cleanup tasks like closing of file and stopping loaders and some other use cases in JavaScript. Now, I want us to take a look at an example of a throw statement to check for input validation in our code. Here, I already have my input box where I will enter a value. You can see I can enter any value inside this, and I already have a button as well, which is this test input, which is what I will use to check for the validation. So now that I have these two HTML setup, so let's move on to the functionality and pull up the JavaScript part. So now you can see that here my button has an on-click function that takes this my function name here. It is the function that I want to first make here. And now inside it, I want to make a message variable and give it a value of error message, which is coming from this ID. I also want to make another one to be input const, and I want it to pick this other value, which will represent what the user enters as value into the input box. And now I want the last variable to contain the value that is being entered into the box. And now that I have this, I want to make an empty string, and its purpose is that it will clear previous error message anytime I input new value. Now, this comes the part where we need most, the try catch. And inside the try is the code to check. This is where the code to check is going to live. And what do I want to check? If x does string, that is, if there are no trailing slashes, equals to empty string, then true empty. If what is entered is not a number, then give us an error that what is entered as input is not a number. Then the value of whatever is input into the input box let it be converted into a number by using the global number method. That is why you see this X being wrapped around with the number global method. Now, if X less than 5, throw too low. If X is greater than 10, then throw too high. And then give me this output. Anytime there's a valid input or input is correct with what I expect. So to give me this text, input is valid plus the value of my input, which is represented by X. Now, this is the condition that I want to check to see if it is my true and exception. And now that I have this set up, then I need the catch part. If there's any error, I'm shorten it to ERR. Then whatever error that is caught inside the try block, I want them out here. So I want that error to be added to this string. Input is whatever error that is getting. So now, let's test this out to see if this actually works. So if I press on text input, you can see this. Input is type error, can't access property tree, X is undefined. So which means that somehow there is an error in my code. But what if I enter a value? X is undefined. So where is this X coming from? Let's take a look. So we have the function here. We are getting ID and another ID. And we are setting the value inside this input.value. Good. They display previous error message. And now here is the try part. If x.string equals empty, what if it's triple equal? What happens? It's not about equality sign actually. Now x dot true equals this, then throw empty. If it's not a number, x throw not a number, then x equals to number in x. If x is less than 5. Okay, I think the problem is here. This x is not defined anywhere in my code. X is undefined. Okay, sorry. I've seen the problem. So I have double value. The value is already here. So I don't need it again. So if I test this now, you can see. Now, what this program expects is that it expects a number between 5 and 10. If I put something like 2, let's see what happens. Input is too low. That means it will fire this. If I put a number greater than 10, then it will fire what input is too high. So you can see that inside this try is where we are testing for the condition. And anytime the condition is not met, anytime there's an error, this one will fire. And that is why we are saying input is, then it will pick a value, which is the error that is generated from the try block of the code. So this is how you can use the throw statement to test for input validation in your code.